Julia and a guy sitting in a tree. Kissing.
Hello, and welcome back to And Then We Kiss, the podcast on the funny, the confusing, and the unforgettable stories behind my kiss list. I'm Julia, and I'm joined again today by Sophie.
This is our third attempt on birthing this episode.
I didn't know that we were going to say it right off the bat.
Womb.
Okay, essentially, this is our third attempt to try and record this episode. The last two times we had technical issues. Anyway, we're coming at you today with another Real Talk episode. You heard the beginning. It's not like it usually is, and we're doing a Real Talk, first Real Talk of the season. Now, what is a Real Talk if you're new? A Real Talk is essentially a moment where we kind of take a moment to reflect on things that we've noticed in the past episodes, kind of like general important dating topics coming up that we feel the need to discuss rather than analyzing in one specific case study, i.e. my dating life. So today we really feel like it's important to talk about how romantic relationships can really easily feel like you're supposed to fulfill society's expectations rather than managing and fulfilling your own expectations and your own feelings.
Yeah, let's hope this baby comes out alive. And let's dive right into it. So, Julia.
Actually, what's your fun little drink, Sophie? Guys, we're so over it today. We really are.
Look at this mess, guys. So
she's already started her drink, obviously.
I brought basil and citrus lemonade. And I fucked up the first time as well and opened the bottle before. So I poured it into a glass to have some ASMR.
Well, obviously we don't have the ASMR on record, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Anyway,
very unatzig for me to drink out of a glass.
That's true, but at least it's like a cool looking glass.
Yeah,
I always feel like it looks like a skull. Why do you not have a skull glass?
Gift me one, I guess.
Well, I would have, but I wasn't allowed to know your birthday.
Gift me one randomly.
That's weird. Anyway, I'm drinking a raspberry lemonade from the same brand, and I'm really happy because it matches the color of my shirt.
Nice.
We're not even going to try and do a cheers because we're too far apart.
I can do a cheers with my two glass thingies.
Okay, go ahead. There you go.
Nice.
The thing is, guys, to be honest, this is the second attempt to record this episode today, and the first one was actually a couple of weeks back.
Yeah. I changed my hair color since then. A lot has happened. I've got 1 year older. It's crazy.
Oh, and she also got like a little nose piercing.
Yeah. So much.
A lot has happened.
My
situationship is still shit.
You're still with the same guy? That's weird too.
I'm giving monogamy a try. No, I'm lying. I'm not. Good God. His coworker did you look cute today, though.
Aww.
Just putting that out there.
If you're hearing this.
Call me, beat me if you want to reach me.
Call me what you want, but call me. Anyway.
Looking at other depressing topics. Society's expectations in your own love life.
Yeah, damn. We're so brainwashed.
We really are. Because, so, essentially we looked at the first 4 episodes to kind of like figure out what's like a common theme that we spotted. And with the common themes that we saw was the fact that I was in so many uncomfortable situations and I felt like I couldn't really get out because I had to be polite.
Yeah, you were always following this pattern of trying to make the guy comfortable, which I think is a big thing.
God forbid a guy's uncomfortable, Sophie.
And in the meantime, completely forgetting that you're supposed to be comfortable too.
Yeah, I mean, I did in some situations actually notice in that moment that I didn't feel comfortable, but it didn't seem like a priority.
The moment with the ice cream when you tried the second episode guy that tried to shove ice cream in your mouth.
And the only thing that I could think of in that moment was how do I make sure that he doesn't notice that I'm uncomfortable?
Yeah, but still trying to get him
away.
To stop. But without saying no, just somehow getting him to stop.
It's balance, baby. It's called balance. Expectations are a wild thing. It felt like when I was younger, I don't know how it was for you because you did grow up very differently than I did. Yeah. You're also younger than I am, so it's also like you grew up later than I did. So I don't really know how it was for you, but for me it felt like I always had to be very polite in a sense. I always had to make sure that the other person didn't feel uncomfortable. And be uncomplicated as well.
I had a really bad pygmy face when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get the not wanting to be complicated part. I do not get the being polite part so much because I always tried to be one of the boys, which the boys didn't really like. But anyway.
But it's really interesting, isn't it, as well? Because I feel like being one of the boys definitely was something that you were supposed to be, because then you're uncomplicated and not like the other girls, but also be feminine and fuckable.
Yeah, because boys do have a lot of features that are designated positive in society, like them being chill and strong and funny and stuff. And girls have a lot of features or tend to have a lot of features that are designated bad in society because they're feminine and society is sexist as fuck.
Like being funny.
Like being high maintenance, and
which is wild, because are we high maintenance?
Are
Or
we high
society just
maintenance?
not made for us?
Yeah.
I mean, good God, all of these expectations put on us to like look a certain way, and then as soon as we try and strive to look that way, it's like, oh, you put so
you're
much
high
work
maintenance.
into
Oh my
your
God.
looks in the morning.
How much time did you take to get ready? Oh, an hour? That's really long. What the fuck?
Yeah, but have you considered that you actually don't want to like date me if I don't look like this?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry I take so long to wash my hair in the morning. Is it maybe because you don't find girls with short hair attractive? Have you thought about that? Okay, but I do feel like, if we're going to be quite frank, I feel like it can be really easy to look back at your youth and be like, oh my God, we were all teenagers and we had all of these really stupid ideas about what other people were expecting of me in dating. And now we're all grown up and that's not a thing anymore. But it is.
Yeah, we're not letting ourselves being treated like shit like we did with the asshole and just accepted that this was sex, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like, if anything, you just don't, by the way, mention the asshole. I didn't even notice that you just did that. Sorry. But I feel like it's so easy to look back and be like, well, I'm a grown-up now and I have learned my fair share of the deal and whatnot. But if you really look around, there is still this kind of like script,
Yeah.
where it feels like society, and I mean, mostly this has to do with gender roles, right? Like, we as women have very different expectations put on us, especially female presenting people than male presenting people.
Yeah.
Also, this is really important to note. Both of us are cis women, so we have not really encountered any sort of different expectations in the way that the ones that we are talking about. Obviously, we are going to try and talk about like expectations put towards men from a female gaze, but at the end of the day, that's all we can really say. But it definitely still feels like there are society expectations today. What do I mean by that? I feel like it's really important that you get married and have children and have your like white picket fence and your dog and whatnot.
Yeah, like the standard way to go about things when you're in a relationship. When it works for 1 year, you move in together, and if it works for 3 years, you get like proposed to as a girl. And then you're supposed to get married, and when you're only then you can have kids and like buy a house together, and that's the end of it. Like, when you manage to do that, that's all you're gonna get from life. Then you finished playing life.
Because it really does feel like people are just essentially trying to live this picturesque perfect life without really thinking about the fact if they want that or not. And I mean, these kind of steps that you just described, obviously they do make sense to a certain point. There are rights and privileges that you have when you have children when you're married, rather than when you have children and you're not married, at least in Germany. But that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing if you do it differently.
If you want it and that's what makes you happy, then go for it. But
Exactly, but like, you have to actually think about the fact if you want
Yeah.
that or not. And so it feels more important, you know. So if, okay, let's take the situation that we had in episode 2. Me in the ice cream parlor with this like fantastic guy trying to like force feed me ice cream, I guess. So in that moment, I could feel I didn't want this, but I was trying to mask my discomfort and making sure that he didn't realize that I did not want this, and I was still trying to like play nice. Okay, so the guy in today's scenario is society, right? And it is me who's kind of like like society is trying to force feed me marriage and kids, let's say.
Yeah.
And I can sense my discomfort, but instead of just like telling society to fuck off,
That's a really good metaphor.
I'm like masking towards, thank you. I'm masking towards society like, no, it's fine. This is so great. Marriage and kids, let's go.
Sure, I'll
like
take
that
the
being
ice
said,
cream.
I don't even know what I want, right? But this is more like a metaphor that I feel like a lot of people just kind of like go with it
Yeah.
instead of trying to figure out if they want it in that moment or not.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, you had a lot of other situations in those 4 episodes that felt like that, right? I mean, your first relationship was also kind of just playing by the script.
Like, he did care for me, I did care for him to an extent. But especially in the beginning, he was fulfilling expectations by gifting me that huge-ass teddy bear. We had been dating for only a couple of weeks at that point. Okay, to be fair, he had been courting me for a year, but still.
Courting.
He didn't have to do that. That was
Yeah.
a shit ton of money.
Yeah, but it's also one of the things you, as a society, expect from boyfriends, like the materialistic shit,
Oh, yeah.
the gifts, the spending money on the girl.
Because you want to make sure that she knows that you like her and stuff. You
Yeah.
can show me differently. It doesn't have to be through money.
Yeah, and also it's tied to sexism, obviously, because the man is supposed to be the provider.
Provide for me.
Yeah, so he kind of wants to show you in societal terms that he can provide for you.
Yeah.
But that's
a
so
good
unnecessary.
point. It can be nice if everyone wants it, but I think that it's unnecessary as soon as it feels like the relationship will end if he doesn't do it. That's terrible.
Yeah. And also there are just people who are not into gifts and getting spent money on. For example, me.
Interestingly enough, me as well.
Yeah,
That was
my
one of-
love language is just not gift giving. And Flo and
Yeah.
I talked about that in the very first stages of our relationship.
But you want a skull glass gifted
Yeah.
from me?
Yeah, I'm sure. That's not about love. It's about possession. Anyways. We both said, well, it feels kind of insincere to us to give gifts, and we show our love in other ways.
Not everyone likes to show their love through gift giving, which is for sure a fact. And not everyone feels loved through gift giving, which
Yeah.
is also for sure a fact.
So why is it a standard, and why is it expected of boys and men to give gifts?
You know, I actually had a moment not too long ago where I really was kind of thrown out of my bubble, because it can feel like you and I are in a bubble with our friends and the people that we know, where all of these expectations and romantic relationships aren't really a thing anymore. And I was sitting at my hairdresser, and he's in a very different bubble than I am. And Valentine's Day was coming up, and he was like, oh, and Valentine's Day can be so nice when you're in a relationship, you know, like you gift each other like all of these chocolates and the flowers, and like he was kind of insinuating that every woman wants to be gifted chocolates and flowers for Valentine's Day. And I was kind of like, Valentine's Day is coming up?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I was not aware. And it's, he was adamant about that, and I really do think that in the circles that he runs in, this is an actual thing.
It's
You
it's
need to
expected.
do.
Yeah.
And I sometimes find it wild, because have you not like thought about this for a second? I mean, why is it so important to us? Essentially, especially through social media, but outside of social media, this used to be a thing as well. We kind of compare our relationships to other relationships.
Yeah.
And when other women are showered with gifts on Valentine's Day from our boyfriend, it can easily feel like
They have the better boyfriend.
or like our boyfriend doesn't love us.
yeah.
Instead of trying to be somewhat, I mean, I hate the word, but like somewhat mature about our feelings
Yeah.
and understanding. Maybe you do have a shit boyfriend. Maybe he doesn't love you.
Maybe.
Maybe you also have a fantastic boyfriend that doesn't really feel the need to finance the flower industry on Valentine's
because-
Day.
Or you signaled that you don't want flowers, so he doesn't give you flowers, so he's a fantastic boyfriend for noticing and listening to you.
But I think essentially just like what we're trying to say is the script, the social script almost, it still goes on to today.
Yeah.
And the core of it all is, do you really want any of this? Or do you feel like if you are not playing this part you were doing something wrong.
Yeah, the status thing was also a reason for your first relationship, right? That you
Oh, for
compared yourself
sure.
with other girls at your school,
Yeah.
and you were like, they all have boyfriends, so now I need a boyfriend too.
I mean, also, my girlfriends and I at the time, we were only talking about boys, and all of them had boyfriends at that time, already had experiences, or were still dating someone. I had no one. The comparison was definitely like a thing.
Yeah.
And it really like stole my joy almost, because having a boyfriend was almost irrelevant at the time. It was nice making that experience, and I did have like some really nice moments with him, but also it wasn't necessarily necessary. I could have also just waited until I found someone that I liked.
Yeah. I was just saying, it was kind of like you needed him for status, I guess.
Yeah.
But you didn't really like him, and what's the point of a relationship if you don't like each other, right?
I mean, status, I guess, or so. I don't
Yeah,
know.
with
but
status.
Something was happening for sure. But also the fourth episode with the asshole definitely got myself into a situation. Like, no matter what, I could have never gotten out of that feeling fulfilled, because I was not in the headspace to be able to stand up for myself.
Yeah, and he was probably just not the right guy to fulfill you. Like, you were just not compatible.
Yeah, like, well, I mean, what does really compatibility in that
sure.
sense mean? Because I think that he was also really taking advantage of the fact that I was a young girl or a young woman who had no idea how to voice her needs and be with herself in that moment. I mean, guys, I didn't even really learn this until my hoe phase. We discussed that in the last season. I didn't learn until the hoe phase to stand up for myself in sexual and romantic situations and get what I came for. And so this guy is obviously taking advantage of that, because if I am not saying anything, then he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Good for him.
I'm so glad that I was listening to society's expectations of being like a good little girl and shutting the fuck up and going with the flow and not being uncomfortable.
Being the girl that you're supposed to be because the guy saw it in porn.
Oh my god, actually that's like a whole other thing that we never even talked about in these 4 episodes. You're gonna have to tell me if you've like encountered this or not, but
Yeah.
I definitely felt, for my girlfriends and me, a certain amount of pressure with the boys, with the men that I was at when I was younger.
Yeah.
Sometimes depending on the type of man that I still encountered. This is still a thing to this day, but now I can kind of deal with it, but back then I couldn't. A sort of pressure to be cool and want to do shit that they do in porns.
Yeah.
Be like a porny girl, a porno girl, if you will.
I was a lot more queer socialized than you were, so my early experiences were with other girls a lot, and so we both didn't have that kind of expectation. But with the guys, yeah, definitely. Especially a lot of like asking for nudes and kind of stuff like that, like expecting a lot of sexual content.
Yeah.
Which they've
Sexualizing
normalized
yourself.
from the internet.
That actually just brought me to a question that I never knew I wanted to ask you. With your first, and if this is too private, please tell me and I'll cut it out.
Yeah.
With your first experiences with girls, because I mean, queer representation wasn't like a big thing, right? And so I could imagine that the only thing that you knew about like lesbian sex was through the male gaze porn industry.
Yeah.
So I do ask myself if in these first sexual experiences, if the male gaze was still like a big thing. You know, like a lot of bisexual women I've heard don't know how to imagine how it is to fuck a woman as a woman, and so when they're fantasizing about that, all they can think about is how it would be to fuck a woman through the perspective of a man.
Yeah. My first girlfriend actually was a lot more experienced than I was at the time. But she was also very straight socialized. So her way of having sex with women was the male gazy porn way. And so that's what I first learned about the sex with women, way before I even knew or like was interested in lesbian porn.
So and that's how it's passed down, isn't it? That's
Yeah,
wild.
That's how it's passed down. And like my first, I almost hate to say this, but my first really sincere or intense encounters with girls were all drunk. Like when you like
on parties
let go
or
of your inhibitions a little bit and stop giving a fuck, then you learn about yourself the most, I think, which isn't an advice to get drunk to get to yourself to know better.
But it's definitely like the idea is still kind of try and figure out a way to let go of your inhibitions.
Yeah.
I mean, that definitely plays a part in whoever you're having sex with, whatever gender.
Totally.
Because I also feel like, you know, there are guys that I've slept with to this day that are like my age or older or younger that have such difficulties letting go during sex because all they can think about is what should I be doing, which is again like society's expectations instead of what do I feel like doing, what does she feel like doing,
Yeah. What am I comfortable with? What do I actually like?
what is interesting. Because it also really hinders having really, really good sex if all you can think about is this part of the body is not hygienic, or
Do I look hot right now?
like when a woman touches my butt, it's gay.
True.
Or like really like anything. Yeah, do I look hot right now is a really good thing.
Right?
Is my moaning hot?
Stop focusing on that, girl.
Good God.
You have a double chin from down there and he likes it. Stop thinking about that.
Do you really think he's looking at your double chin right now?
Do you really think?
Also, if your double chin was that big of a deal, do you really think he would continue sleeping with you?
Exactly. He doesn't care, girl.
I didn't really let go with this how do I look during sex until ages back an influencer started talking about it openly on Instagram, and she was kind of like, you know, when all of us masturbate, we all kind of look like wailing, like flailing whales.
True.
And that was one of the first times where it kind of hit me like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that I was so focused on how I look that I couldn't even be like completely focused on how it felt.
Yeah, my first eye opener was also an influencer, a lesbian one, who was like, if she's looking hot during her orgasm, she's faking it.
Yeah.
True.
If she's not like crunched up like a ball or something. At least from my perspective, when the men then start to like be really sincere, it actually gets a lot hotter.
Yeah.
And I think the same can be said for romantic situations as well, not just like sexual
Yeah, if
ones.
you're really playing both of your love language and really do what both of you feel most, it gets a lot more romantic than just receiving a box of chocolates he didn't want to buy and you didn't want to get.
Because you don't even know what to do with them.
Yeah.
Because you don't even like chocolates.
Yeah.
I think the big difficulty with that is it requires a lot of trust in your partner. It requires a lot of communication. And when I say trust, I mean trust that what they're saying is true. And what they're saying, they're not trying to say that with the intention of hurting you. And it also requires you to know yourself. Because we always say like, oh, just communicate with your partner. But what does that really mean in that sense, you know?
Yeah.
Because
If you don't know what you need to communicate.
and also what to like look out for, because I think all of us kind of can get so easily triggered and so easily hurt, which is so understandable. We've all gone through our own shit through life. But I feel like it's difficult for most people to take a step back and kind of consider, is what the other person is saying really meant to hurt me, or is the person just like speaking their own truth and I feel hurt by that?
Yeah.
You know, maybe he'll kind of come to you and he'll say, listen, I know Valentine's Day is coming up. This is our first Valentine's Day. I am not really a big person to like gift flowers. That's not really me. And then what I could hear in that moment would be, oh, you don't love me. You don't care for me. You
That
don't want
might
to
be a
spend
you thing,
money
no.
on me. But then I could maybe say, okay, how do you show that you love me? Is there something else you could do? And then we could talk about expectations. Maybe Valentine's Day really is important to me, but I don't need flowers for that. Or maybe I just want to be shown that I'm loved every single day and every single second of the year. Maybe not, but
Or like, why not every day? Yeah.
Yeah, or like every Sunday or God knows what, or like every first of the month, but like, what do you really want? What do you really need? And I feel like it requires a very truthful way of looking at yourself as well.
Do you think the first relationship you ever have is doomed to fail because you don't know yourself in that way yet?
Oh, I have thought about that so much. I think it depends on the age when you get into that relationship. Because, I mean, there is a big difference between getting into a relationship when you're 16 and 26.
Yeah.
But then again,
sure.
If you've never been in a romantic or sexual situation with 26 and this is one of your first times, do you know yourself
I
enough?
don't think so.
I mean, there's a lot of things that you can learn through friendships and other sorts of relationships.
Yeah, and also from social media. I mean, I guess you can see examples of relationships or kinks or whatever it is you need to know. And sincerely think, yo, that's my jam. I want that too from a relationship. But I don't know if you can really know till you've experienced it.
I think it depends on the putting sexual encounters to the side.
Yeah.
Let's focus on the romantic, on the connection. I think it depends on how intimately your friendships are until that point. Because if you have very, very emotionally intimate friendships, I do think there's a chance that your first relationship, when you're older, can last.
Yeah.
But if most of your friendships are more superficial and you never get into those situations where you get triggered or where you have to work through emotions, where you have to work through wanting different distances or like intimacy levels in that moment, like maybe I want to spend more time with you but you want to spend less time with me, and that's like something we have to work through. If you've never had to do that in a friendship, it can be really difficult to figure that out in the first time in romantic relationships.
Yeah.
That being said, is a first relationship that starts out during teenage years doomed to fail? I don't think so.
I don't either.
But I think it requires a lot of work.
I think they're more likely to fail.
Yes.
Because all you got are standards and expectations being put on from outside.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't have to. Like, if you both work through that, sure, it can work.
I think also, if you start out really young, you need to give yourself, like each other, a lot of space to figure out your own expectations, figure out your own needs.
Yeah.
That can require a lot of distance in that relationship. But I think if you can get through those phases, then yeah. And I mean, am I the right person to ask this? My parents are still together and they got together really young.
They were high school sweethearts, right?
Yeah, like end high school or just graduated or something.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, around that time. Still young though. So.
And that works not bad, right?
They're still together. They're still in love. They're on a trip right now, sending like into the family group chat photos.
So it can work, yeah.
So it can work. But then again, and this is exactly what I was saying, they gave each other
a
shit ton of space to individually grow.
Yeah.
And then they always try to figure out afterwards if their expectations for a relationship still matched, instead of trying to immediately figure out expectations together. Because I think if you figure out individual expectations as a pair, then you're doomed to fail.
Yeah.
Because then their expectations are going to influence your expectations.
If you never think about what do I want, but your first thought is always, what do we want?
What do we want, Sophie? For this episode to finally record.
I'm not doing this a fourth time.
What's the conclusion for today? What do we feel like saying?
Guys, meditate. No.
You heard it here first, folks. Meditate.
I mean, I guess...
Cut the cameras!
I guess if that helps you get in touch with your truest self...
Meditate, masturbate.
Meditate and masturbate. That sounds really hippie, but... But I mean, it's essentially what we're trying to say, right? Get in touch with your inner self, get through that weird jungle of societal expectations, put in the work, it's worth it.
Also kind of just like understand that all of this happened so young already.
Yeah.
And that in the entire way that you formed relationships was probably under a lot of pressure from society, even if you don't think that it was. And at the end of the day, guys, if you want to follow the social script, by all means, please do. But just be aware that you actually want to do that and that you're not doing that because society expects that of you.
Yeah.
That's like the important part. Do what makes you happy.
We also don't want to sound too preachy. We're
Or
only
like advice giving.
we're only figuring shit out ourselves right now, and this is kind of our reflection too.
God knows that I had so many moments where I did not know
Exactly.
what I wanted. I still don't know what I want.
We're just rambling here.
This is still not an advice podcast. We're not in any way, shape, or form able to give out advice.
If we're giving advice to anyone, it's us in future, like us personally. Like, you know, when we're listening back in 5 years or something and we're like, oh my God, we were so stupid.
I never look back at myself and think I was stupid. I
No,
always
me
look back
neither.
at myself and think, you were so cute.
Yeah.
You did not know shit.
So, yeah. Sometimes I think like, oh my God, you were so brave. Why did you do that?
That's so real. That's so real.
But yeah, this is more a reflection for us, and maybe it helps someone else.
I'm really curious to see how my future unfolds in a way, what I want out of life, if I really do follow the social script or not.
Yeah.
I mean, that question is like one of the biggest questions it's been one of the biggest questions for the past years, like what exactly do I want out of my future?
Yeah, fair.
And I feel like what I figured out for myself was to not think about it in terms of output. Like one measurable output could be career or children or marriage or whatnot, but rather focus on my values. What values do I want to take with me into the future? What values are like currently, what align with me? And then based on those values, I can make decisions in the moment that feel right, and they can turn into numerous amounts of outputs.
Yeah.
Maybe a value of mine is that I want to be there for the next generation, for example. And that could look like having my own children, but also that could look like
Taking care of other children.
exactly, or
Taking
like
care of the planet, whatever.
exactly. It can look in so many different ways. And I think that's like the way that I have figured out to deal with this anxiety about future, and also with anxiety about social script and what I should do and what I should not do and stuff.
I'm really interested where I'm headed to, because I've always been very anti-norms, I guess.
Which is also kind of why we're such good friends.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But being anti-norms just to be anti-norms also keeps you stuck
Oh, yeah.
in a script in a way. Then your script is like just anti-script, but it's also a kind of script.
Because then you're still reacting.
Yeah, if I'm just saying, okay, the standard is getting married and having kids and moving in with my boyfriend or husband or whatever, and I have to do the opposite of that, you're hearing it.
It's reacting. And
it's reacting.
It's not doing whatever you want, but rather reacting.
Yeah. And I still feel like my life is not heading in the script direction right now. Like, I feel like that right now. But that can always change, and I made my peace with that because I've been changing so much my whole life, and that's a good thing. Or it always has been good so far. So, yeah, I'm just cool with that.
I do feel like in some ways you're more scripty than I am, and then in other ways I'm more scripty than you are.
Yeah.
I do feel like both of us are a balanced version of the social script, like almost if you put us together.
We're the script and the anti-script.
We are both sides.
We're matter and antimatter. Do you know where the antimatter is, Julia, when the universe was created?
I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Both was created equal. But all we see here is matter, and the antimatter is somewhere else.
Okay, well, anyway, guys, that was our thoughts on society script, I guess.
Yeah.
Societal script, something like that. Essentially, expectations that society likes to put on your own personal relationships.
Yeah.
If you take anything out of this, then just like really think about it, what you want to do before you're acting. Don't react.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed today's episode, these rambles, then please like, share, follow along. Comment if there are any society expectations that you're like currently trying to figure out if you want to fulfill them or not.
If you're anything but a cis woman, tell us how the script differs for you. You can also tell us if you're a cis woman and if you feel different pressures, of course.
Yeah,
but
like what are expectations that you feel like
Yeah.
you've always had to fulfill? Also can be outside of romantic and sexual expectations or situations, can be anything really, but just
Totally.
like expectations. And in 2 weeks, Flo will be back for episode 6, where we're actually going to discuss a really cringe-worthy teenager way of going about dating.
Oh no, I love
Very
that story.
excited for that story, to be
Yeah.
honest. So make sure you tune in for that one. Until then, I beg of you to kiss someone, but only if you feel comfortable with it in the moment. And they do too, obviously. And until then, have a good 2 weeks.
Bye. Hopefully this recorded.
Peace
Yay.
out. Hopefully it recorded. Bye.